Hello YouTube. It's been a while since I've been to the range, and today's gun is an Uberti number 3 Schofield, and this is the Wells Fargo model with a 5-inch barrel. This is a true number 3 Smith & Wesson, or a copy of a true number 3 Smith & Wesson. I've seen a couple of the videos lately where people are calling the swing out cylinder revolvers and their copies. They're saying, well, that's a number 3. Those are not number 3s. Those are hand ejectors, or even the break opens later on were not called number 3s. The number 3s were the Schofield like this, the Russian model, and the American model. And how you can tell is the various grip frames. The Russian has the most pronounced, along with the spur on the trigger. The Smith & Wesson number 3 Schofield, of course, has the latch that it was come from Schofield, and the grip frame is completely rounded. There is no spur or nothing on it. That later followed with the American. A lot of people seem to like the American. I decided to get the Schofield, and this one is in .45 Colt. And here's how it shot from 7 yards. And of course, you know, we all know the whole history. If we don't, behind the Smith & Wesson number 3 revolvers, they were a competition to Colt, and their style of single action revolvers, the Smith & Wessons, had a break open, break top, and top eject revolver, making them faster to unload and load than the Colts. And there are some who favored the Smith & Wesson design. I happen to like them. I have both. They have their strengths and weaknesses. Probably the biggest issue I'd say with the Smith & Wessons is the grip, and they do have a weird grip on them. And the one thing I did was, if you notice, these are not the regular grips that come with these guns. I found these are aftermarket. Nice pair of cherry grips that I found, and they came unfinished, and I threw, you know, beautiful stain on them. That's just a natural finish. 4 coats of True Oil. And the difference between the grip frame and the grips that came with these, and of course they're exact copy of the originals, is that they are very blocky and very chunky, and these are thinner. And I have seen several original Smith & Wesson Schofields that do not have the original grips on them. They have replacements, either ivory or pearl or stag or something. You know, these are the original guns from the 1800s, and a lot of them I find do not have the original grips. And I think it's because maybe somebody even back then figured that they were too big and blocky for the gun, and just changing these out lets you get to the hammer much easier with your thumb. And again, it's a weird grip system. It's different. The Colt is a little more stable in the hand, but this is not bad. And of course, this being the Wells Fargo model, this is not the full length. This is a 5-inch barrel, and it is probably the nicest shooting gun I've fired for a handgun in a long time. As far as accuracy, very pleasant to shoot. A little weird. It's not that there's something wrong with it. It's that it's different. And I think so many people were so used to the Colt designs for so many years. The 51 Army, the 60, the 51 Navy, the 60 Army. All of those Colt guns that were pretty much the standard for so many years prior to the single action Army, 1873. And then Smith & Wesson came out with this design. And I think so many people were so used to doing the old-fashioned way and used to the Colt design that this really didn't catch on so much here as it did with the Russian guns, and when the Russians bought their huge amount, which kept Smith & Wesson in business, and then the small amount of Schofields. And these particular guns, the 5-inch barrels, were originally in the original guns, military issue Schofields that went to Wells Fargo, and they cut the barrels to 5 inches and used them for years, and were quite popular. Then of course the Americans, which came out later, and then Smith & Wesson went to double action revolvers, the break opens, the larger frame, and then of course they went to the small frame pocket guns. But let's show another one of these targets here. And here's another target. This was offhand at 10 yards, one-handed. One of the reasons I bought this gun is because it is designed to be a true, or as much as possible, one-handed gun, which is why Schofield came up with a design for cavalrymen to be able to unload the gun with one hand and reload as fast as possible from the saddle. I ended up just having surgery recently on my left arm again. It had quite a bit of damage done over the years. And so I wanted a gun I could carry that on the trails, or if I'm out in the woods somewheres, if I needed to unload it quickly, this will do fine. I can unload a semi-auto pretty easily. I can drop the magazine one hand. My biggest issue right now is racking a slide. So this is a very nice gun for that. And again, look how tight that group is. One hand, offhand at 10 yards, and in 45 Colt. It's a very close group for being a gun I've never shot before today. And it's such a pleasant gun in 45 Colt. And these are factory Winchester 250 grain rounds. And of course, the heart of the Schofield design, when it came to the Smith & Wesson number 3, was the latch system, which to use, the other revolvers, the American and the Russian, the latch you had to push up. Whereas the Schofield, you can see here's the latch, which of course the sight is built into it. But on all of them, bring it to half cock, bring the latch back, and break the gun open, and there you have it. It's easier to do it, of course, when you're not trying to film it, but that's the system. And that from horseback, you could brush it up against your leg. I even tried that here, shooting it with just basically opening up against my pant leg and dumping it. And the rounds fall out very quickly, and they drop. The empty cases drop very, very easily. And you can see why this was such a popular design with someone on horseback versus the Colt single action army. Unload, eject, unload, eject every single empty shell, and then reload the same way, turn the cylinder. Versus this gun, it's just a matter of simply dumping the empties and putting in the new ones, closing the gun, and you're back in the action. And you can see why these guns were popular. And you can see why, for someone who is used to single action revolvers, yes, this is not the Colt design, but it's a tough gun. It really is. It's a tough design. So, with that being said, YouTube, I hope to get a few more videos in. I've got a couple of rifles I'm playing with now. I picked up an 1894 Winchester and 3855. I hope to get to the range fairly soon. And a few other rifles. But with that being said, YouTube, hope you enjoyed the Uberti Schofield in the Wells Fargo 5-inch barrel. Have a good day.